Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us on this Monday evening. I hope everybody, and I figure it's pretty much all around the world, everybody was able to stay, hopefully, safely out of the heat. Heat is fine for a little bit, but my gosh, over the past couple days, it's just, it's been a lot. And even air conditioning really wasn't helping in some parts of my house, at least. Hopefully everyone was able to stay safe, check in on loved ones, all that good stuff. I also wanted to quickly thank everyone who tuned in this afternoon as I handled the Matt McNeil show. That was a lot of fun. And I think the one thing that I enjoyed doing about it this time, it's technically my third time doing it, but my second grouping of episodes doing it. And what I really enjoyed about that today was that I kind of tailored the program more towards me instead of more towards how Matt would do the show. And it was no offense to Matt, it was a lot more fun. So that was really cool. And I just want to thank you all, those who listened. I'm going to be putting up bits of the show. We interviewed animation historian Jerry Beck today. That was a great conversation. And then we also had a great deal of time with psychic medium Refined Divine. So we'll be putting links up to those later. Please check those out. I am very excited. This is literally years in the making that we've been trying to do this. And this is a conversation I've been wanting to do for a while. And author Heidi Hollis has written a number of books, and we're going to be talking about those throughout the program. She also has been on many programs, amongst one of them being a regular on Coast to Coast with George Norrie, and she is such a great wealth of information. I'm so happy to be able to talk with her. When you're done with the show, please go check out her sites for more details, HeidiHollis.com. The other FWord.com and FickleFinders.com as well. We'll go through all that again a little bit later. But everyone, I'd like to welcome Heidi. Heidi, welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Hey there. It's great to finally connect with you too, Greg. We've been both looking forward to this one, right?
Well, and I'm trying to figure out. I joked with you earlier. I said it was 15 years we've been trying to do this. Not quite the case. It's been a year, right? It's been a year, and
we had bad luck. That's what it was.
It really is what it is. It's all meant to be a it's all about timing, right? The timing is right, and right now it is working out very well for us. And, the thing that immediately grabbed my attention as soon as, we were talking back and forth, and, sometimes I throw guests off when I say to them, what do you want to talk about? Because they're just kind of like, well, you invited me. What do you want to talk about? But I asked you, I'm like, what do you want to talk about? And you're like, the secret war between aliens, shadow people, and us. Yeah. And right away, I'm just like, I'm in. Like, yes, let's talk about it. But one of the things, Heidi, that is important to note here, though, I'm not exactly sure what that means, and that's what I'm hoping that we can kind of break down tonight and talk a little bit about this. And folks, Heidi and I already talked. There's a lot going on with everything that she's going to be talking about tonight, so we might just have to have her back again really soon to keep the conversation going. But where do you want to start with this?
I guess it's important to lay the groundwork on how I even got to be the person the first person to discover, name, define, and even trademark two phenomena, shadow people and Hat Man. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, and it's heartbreaking when I hear like even somebody like yourself is like, well, I don't know this topic, this conversation, but shadow people, Hat Man. And it's because people have jumped into the pool of something that I put out there, and they watered it down. They put out the wrong information, because I have always said this story. But I've been doing this for a long time. I wrote the book, The Secret War, in 1997. And, being a part of Coast to Coast AM the entire time, so constantly talking about it. People know the name Shadow People and Hat Man because of all of that. And for somebody to take and run with it, and it's like, it's a shame. It's caused a lot of harm and a lot of confusion out there, because this should be very clear to people about what it is I'm talking about. If you know shadow people, if you know Hat Man, if you know those two terms, I don't know how it got confused, but just to say that people made it, they glamorized it. Or they made it seem like it's nothing to fear, or, it's one thing or another. But something I wanted to, I guess, begin with this, it's important to know, people say, oh, you're one of the top researchers or whatever. It's like I'm the person, because I didn't have anybody to go and question about this phenomenon. These phenomena, these names were not out there. It's like you have a teddy bear at home and you named it Teddy. Nobody knew that. It was me. And I'm like, what am I experiencing? And oh my goodness, trying to find answers. But there was nothing out there. I was raised in a haunted house. I didn't enjoy that very much. And my parents were really tired of it. So they built a brand new house. Mm-hmm. And then we're out in the middle of nowhere, and I started seeing strange lights in the sky. So I had a well-rounded perspective on a lot of strange things. I'd also, when we moved to the new house, I started having out-of-body experiences, shared dreams with my siblings, just a lot of strange things. And so things didn't, it's not so clean cut. Now, because there's so much to the story, and like you said, we could continue this another time, but to kind of get to the basis of shadow people, Hat Man, and aliens, I could jump into saying, this is exactly what took place, but sometimes it takes up a whole lot of time. So
absolutely. How about we start here, because you kind of are saying that we don't all really understand shadow people. Right. So why don't we start with shadow people as far as what they are?
So shadow people are a shape-shifting black mass that can look at like anything from a shadow streak to a shadow cloud to a shadow rodent to something I literally termed as head and shoulder shadow. And there's also some people will mix in the fact that hooded shadows, those are actually not shadow beings. They don't wear clothes, they shapeshift, so that's actually a hooded alien being. But it's something that I also discussed because it is an alien being. I had a UFO group for over 15 years, so I cover it. But so it could shapeshift into a whole lot of things. And what I personally had not seen the Hat Man, so I called him the Hat Man Shadow because I didn't realize how different he was. So shadow people are this dark menace, this dark presence that can essentially impose upon a person. A lot of people describe being paralyzed at night and this dark, shadowy presence coming. Sometimes it has slanted red eyes. They can hear growling or weird whispers, just feeling oppressed. And, it's a horrific experience. And a lot of times I've had so many thousands of stories from around the world and people saying, I couldn't see it, but I could see the reflection of it on the wall on top of me, just the weirdest things. But the most common that I personally experienced were shadow spiders, which I absolutely hate. They could be thousands of little ones or giant big ones that took up the entire ceiling. So shadow people are essentially the minions of Hat Man. They are the ones that go out and do a lot of his dirty work, and they also don't like to be seen. Oftentimes, if you do see it, it might charge at you or it might run off, one or the other. It doesn't like to sit there and, get an audience, unlike Hat Man. So
Hat Man is oversees the shadow people. So Hat Man is singular.
He is.
Okay.
He is.
Okay.
And sure, people have seen different forms of him. He'll wear different kinds of clothing. He'll wear different types of hats. Sometimes he doesn't even wear a hat. Sometimes you could see he's in the shadows, and he could step out of those shadows, though. That's the changing part with him. Sure. He can step out of those shadows. And if you see his skin, generally you'll see his eyes are solid black, much like an alien being. If you see his eyes at all and he's in shadow form, sometimes you see his eyes, sometimes you don't. But if you do, they're glowing red. If he's in solid form, he's got this horrific smile, very much like Pennywise from the movie It.
Yep.
They call him the Smiling Man sometimes. Slender Man is a straight up rip off the Hat Man. It's just, he is something that, to describe him, he wears a 3-piece suit. Sometimes he has a trench coat, sometimes a cape. Sometimes you can see the watch on his hip, sometimes not. Sometimes you see the white shirt that he has on. And again, he could have, I don't generally hear him having hair. He actually looks very much like an alien being. If you look at my website, you'll see an actual creation of him that just blows my mind because I didn't realize where it came from. One of my friends shared this bust of this creature. And I said, oh my goodness, who did such a perfect rendition of Hat Man? And my friend froze. And she's like, are you kidding me? She said, Rudolf Steiner. I'm like, well, who's Rudolf Steiner? He's the creator of anthroposophy. And I, again, don't know what anthroposophy is, but he is a philosopher from over 100 years ago who said, 100 years from the time of his time, Ahriman is what he referenced, this creature would come forward. And I can't even tell you that recognition that came like, I found you. I found you. You have another name. Though he'll tell people he is the devil himself. But I'll tell you also, there are reports of other looking Hat Man types out there. Mm-hmm. There is one, but he is training others, to put it simply.
Okay. Because in the comments here, Damien says, is Hat Man a race or more than one entity for him to be everywhere at the same time? Now, it raises a couple questions that you had a couple times talked about, the similarities between what Hat Man looks like and aliens. Is there a connection between the two, or is that just a coincidence of how that it just reminds you of that?
No, again, this information didn't come from me necessarily. It came to me and my college roommate by way of a non-human being that spoke of these creatures not being from here. So it's always been, that's the story. The Secret War, The Heavens Speak of the Battle is the title of my book that I put out.
Yep.
And so literally saying they don't come from here, but he will tell you he is the devil himself. So if you think of, can God be everywhere? Can this evil be everywhere? Well, apparently so, but he also has minions keeping an eye on things and bullying things through as well. But he's very aware, and it's horrific, the examples I have of that for myself even. So,
well, and I was gonna ask that. Are you constantly under? Do you have to be aware of Hat Man all the time yourself, personally, for your own safety or for your own, like, just you never know if he's going to send shadow people your way or anything else?
I think in the beginning I was a little bit more weary of that, but I don't have attacks like that. I don't have, not any longer. I don't have them hanging around like that. And, in stepping into the bigger picture of things, when you think about what these things are representing, demonic, shadow people, Hat Man, devil, I have no doubts in my faith, because, and now I wasn't always like this, but I'm Christian, and I had an incredible experience that changed everything for me, because I'd stepped away from believing in practicing to sit still in a church, because I was witnessing so many things that was more real to me. And I'd actually wrote in the Secret War book, if Jesus were around, I think I would have seen him by now, because I felt like he was a historical figure. People were overreacting, saying, oh, he's in my piece of toast, and just silly stuff. And before I put that book out, I had an encounter with him that changed everything for me. And it only took literally getting pretty much a smack upside the head by the man himself to say, Heidi, I'm real, and you need me to fight something that is calling himself the devil. So I'm fine. And that's one of the things I try to teach people, that they could be fine too in the face of something so evil. You have to have a champion. And the only one I know is Jesus. So
absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I want to do this. Why don't we take our first break? When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. There's some questions in the comments that we'll get to, and whatever else on your mind, we're going to keep this great conversation going. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. And if you are watching us on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun on Facebook tonight, I ask that you consider sending some stars our way. Stars is a great way to change the algorithm for Facebook to get programs like ours and this great conversation available to more people who may not be aware of it. It really helps the page quite a bit. Another way to help the page is consider being a Patreon member. Patreon members, they have access to 10 years worth of shows, early release episodes, and other wonderful things. Go to patreon.com/GhostBox Radio. And then also, this last weekend was really hot. And if you still wanted to get out, you'd probably be wondering, what can I do? Because it's really hot. But Minneapolis Trolley Tour, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. They have multiple different type of tours out there. It's not just a haunted one. There's the true crime. There's the Gilded Mansion. All these. And on a weekend like this, their trolleys are air conditioned. You got to check this out. They're going to have a new mansion that they're going to start doing stuff from. We're going to be doing a paranormal investigation from there very soon. You do not want to miss out on this. And go check out the MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com. When you go out there, please let them know that you heard about it through GhostBox Radio. It would help us a great deal. We are having a fantastic conversation with author Heidi Hollis, and this is really interesting. And you know what I find very interesting about this, Heidi, is that it always comes back to faith. I feel like at the end of the day, where if there's people who they try to do this stuff, and I'm not saying that you were doing anything that there's people who try to really go after this stuff, and I don't recommend this, but in your case and often with others, they have that kind of literal come to Jesus moment,
right?
And it's like it comes back. It always comes back to faith, and I know that everyone's faith is different, but I mean, faith itself, I personally consider to be, very similar amongst people, what faith is and where we draw strength from.
Yeah.
For that. Let me find here. Don had a question I thought was interesting. Going back to shadow people, do shadow people sometimes grab you, or is that Hat Man?
Both of them can. Both of them can do it. But Hat Man is more of a physical grab. Shadow people are more oppressive, but they can shove you as well, and push things over. So I guess it depends on how it feels in a certain sense. But like the shadow spiders, they felt pretty real to me. They were take up the whole ceiling in my bedroom and fall onto my bed. And then with every step, the sheets or blankets would move, and I'd wake up to rows of eyes, So they could look pretty solid, but they could dissipate too. So really, really horrific.
It's it's bad enough. I don't like spiders anyway, and I think very few do.
Yeah.
And, and it's just like don't show up to me as a shadow spider. I mean that's unfair. Okay,
right.
That's just. I mean, I don't want a shadow person either, but a shadow spider, that's BS.
That's a different level.
That's a different level. That's just not right. That's not on. So okay. Now, so we've talked a little bit about shadow people. We've talked a little bit about Hat Man. Now, where do aliens come into this?
Well, the topic for myself, I was dealing with the shadow spiders, and I had joined a UFO group. I was the only one that had witnessed UFOs that would answer me and show up and come down. And it was just so strange for me. And I joined this group, and all these people are alien abductees. And it was just odd. I got a college roommate. She was very religious, didn't get into any of that stuff. And long story short, she got really slammed with a being that came through her windshield of her car. And I know, and it was just the craziest situation. Like somebody who's Pentecostal and not into this and thinks everything's demons, to somebody who was like a being came and made himself available, came through her windshield and explained to her that, things are not what they appear to be. And I meet up with her. We start discussing, like, what do you mean that something came through your windshield? And I was blown away to have one of my college age friends be into the topic, but at a different level, because she was still freaked out, didn't know what she was dealing with. And what this being did, like she said, it calmed her down right away, and she felt like she could ask it questions. And when it went to answer her, she said, like when you go to the dentist and your mouth goes numb. I'm like, yes. And she was like, my mouth went numb. And it started slapping up and down, and it answered me using my own mouth. Wow. And I'm listening to her talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Sitting in my car, and all of a sudden she tells me I need to meditate. And I'm like, meditate? What are we talking about here? I'm sitting here in the car, you're telling me the coolest story. And she closed her eyes for a moment, and this voice came out of her. And she had a very thick, she was Puerto Rican, very, very thick accent with a speech impediment. But this voice was clear and spoke very calmly and said, hello, I've been waiting to speak to you for a very long time.
To you?
Yeah, yes, to me.
Wow. And
I'm like, Samantha, like, what's going on? I didn't know she meditated, first off. I'm like, should I get out of the car? What is this? And this voice said, oh, this is not Samantha. And I'm like, okay, like, oh, she pulled in my leg, and I'm like, no, she wouldn't have done that because, I know how she is. And I was like, well, who's speaking, And this voice says, I'm what you would call an alien. And I'm like, what, where are you? It's like, and to speed the story up a bit, he said, I'm high up in a ship. And I was like, well, can I see it? And he's like, well, I cannot come down as we once did because your governments know how to shoot us down. And I'm like, oh, well, that's convenient. Now this whole time I'm thinking to myself, I've been a part of this UFO group. I've seen people get hypnotically regressed. And I don't know how well your audience is familiar with this, how this happens. When people get hypnotically regressed, they don't always just sit there and dictate what they're seeing. Sometimes the being starts speaking through them and says, we are doing this type of examination for this type of reason. And so I'd seen this before, but not through my friend, and so I'm thinking this to myself, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. I can't see your ship, and I'm like trying to rationalize everything. And then this being offers something and says, but I think I'm close enough to project an image of myself down. And I said, you could do what? And right. Before I could even think of, to say no or yes, the car started humming, and this creature appeared between the two of us in the car. And it was tiny. It was fleshy colored, kind of pinkish, fleshy colored. And I mean, I pressed myself up so far up against the door. I'm like, okay, I believe you. I see you. And then it faded out. I still get chills thinking about that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad, and so again, long story short, my friend pops forward, just like, oh my God, what was that? And I'm like, you tell me. This being showed itself. And so being college kids, we're like, get back to our apartment, and we're just like, wow, she wants to read. She doesn't like reading English, but she grabs all my UFO books, starts reading them. I want to talk to your demon devil worshiper friends from the UFO group. She thought it was all evil, but now she wants to talk to them. And we're like, oh, wow, you think you could do it again? And so we have more conversations with this being. And it was odd. Like, I got the proof that this thing was real, right? And this, I'll show you how this connects with the UFO and shadow people conversation. So I'm like looking at, trying to find all of these cool answers because I know he's real. I saw him. And I'm like, lottery numbers, please. All the silly, juvenile stuff you could imagine. I asked, because I didn't know what else am I supposed to ask? I'm like, get all the answers to the universe. And most of the time, his answer was, it would not benefit you to know that. If I told you what planet I was on, you wouldn't know where it's located. If I said this, if I said that, it was irritating to a point where we're like, why has he made himself available? Makes no sense to us. So we're trying to find the right button to push. And lo and behold, not until I shared a weird dream. And I'll be real brief about this part. I had a weird dream that I saw the moon coming towards the planet, looking like it was about to hit the Earth. And then a large ship appeared and pulled it at such an angle it didn't crush the planet. And I'm like, I'm sharing this weird dream because this thing isn't telling us anything anyhow. And like the first time that we got some kind of sensible answer from him was, well, I'm not in charge of dreams, but I'll tell you the meaning. And I'm like, well, yay. And he goes, we saw the moon was coming towards the Earth and we didn't want it to be destroyed. The darkness in your planet was doing this. So we showed up and we pulled it at such an angle so it didn't hit the Earth. And I'm like, darkness? What are you talking about, darkness? And he said, you call them shadow people. We call them shadows. My brain almost imploded. I'm like, what? Because I was dealing with them heavily. And I had no idea this being would go there. Like, why is it talking about this? And that's what opened Pandora's box into explaining the entire phenomena between us, these beings, why they're here, abducting alien beings, men in black, all of it. And as they say, the rest is history, because everything he said is true and has come to fruition, unfortunately.
So I want to back up a little bit here, because one of the things that kind of hit me when you're talking about stuff is that the alien is channeling itself or using your friend as literally a mouthpiece. It said, I wanted to talk to you. Is this ultimately all for your benefit because they wanted to be in touch with you?
Well, that was another level of awareness that I didn't know would go there. I literally got my memories back at a later point.
I see. About
having this connection and knowing these beings from someplace else, and not through hypnosis or anything like that. But I guess also to finish, I didn't tie the loose end to see how they're connected. This being went on to say that the connecting force between gray alien beings, reptilians, Nordics who abduct, any kind of being who cause harm, was the shadow people, and how the Hat Man was at the force, at the top of the force. But it was interesting to me. They said they are not from here. This is not the first planet or dimension that they have done this to. That they have essentially conquered different planets and possessed the inhabitants and got them to turn against each other and causing havoc. And the more that the person that they inhabited or the being they inhabited, the more they listened to them, the more they became enslaved to what it was they wanted them to do. So they were essentially being puppeteered. So they explained to me that these so-called alien beings are possessed alien beings. And shadow people are the working arm, I guess you could say, of this army. And that there would come such a level of interactions with these beings that it wouldn't just be a possibility, it'd be a threat that these things were out there. And again, I'm thinking it's just me. I'm like, really? Other people are going to have to deal with shadow spiders and these, head and shoulder shadow? I had no idea. So it was mind-blowing.
Well, was that dream about the moon coming to the Earth that you had, was that implanted in your mind?
That was such a weird dream for me. Like, it really shook me up and it seemed so real. It was hard to believe it didn't actually happen. So now I call those waking dreams. And it's not like I had a lot of those. I think that was actually one of my first. So yes, they told me that they would give certain scenarios of dreams to myself and to people. So if the scenario would occur, on how you would solve it, how you would survive, what would you do? Because there's a whole lot that went into that. When this moon came, it kind of hit our protective bubble and houses blew down the street. We had we're in a different part of space when it occurred. We got knocked out of orbit and we had electricity, but everything was dark. We were in the middle of nowhere, and I knew that we had to work together to survive. So
it's incredible. And the purpose of all this ultimately is is it for you to be able and others to be able to kind of let people know about what the shadow people are doing? Let them know, people like us know that they exist.
Oh boy, Greg, I'll get into the weird part if you want.
Let's do that. Let's get into the weird part, but let me go take a commercial break first. So that gives you a chance to talk. So we're gonna get in. If you all haven't thought this was weird yet, apparently now we're gonna get into the weird part. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We are going to have a person that I think many of you know, and it's going to be a very interesting conversation. We're going to have spiritual consultant, medium, and TV presenter Chris Fleming is going to join us tomorrow. If you've ever seen him on Ghost Adventures or Haunted Ireland or Haunted Scotland, or maybe seen him at one of the conventions, we're going to be talking about all the stuff that's going on with him, as well as his health issues. We're going to be talking about that. Wednesday, we're going to have one question readings with Psychic Medium, Refined Divine. Those are always great, so make sure you check that out. Thursday, we're going to have a replay of author Robert K. Wilcox. We're going to be talking about the truth about the Shroud of Turin. And then, of course, Friday is Casual Friday. But then Sunday, the 29th, I will be doing a live episode of GhostBox Radio live from Twin Cities Pride. There, we're going to have author Stephen LaChance talking with us out there. That will be at 4:05 p.m. on Sunday, the 29th. We have this great conversation going with author Heidi Hollis right now, and we know that we're not going to get through everything tonight, so we're definitely going to have her back. But let's kind of pick up where we left off, and I did see Damien's question, and we can get to that. But we're kind of talking about a number of things here, and you're telling us now it gets weird.
Well, because it's at a level that, I think I have a good grip and understanding on some things, and then something else comes into the mix. And, so something odd happened to me that I have no explanation for. And it took me to a place that I got to recall before I was born. And it's like, because we were talking about, some of the things that, and, what is the destiny here? What is it why am I doing what I'm doing? And so this was the scenario. I was talking to my college roommate, and I needed to go use the restroom. I stood up to go walk across the living room, and all of a sudden I wasn't there anymore. And I was in the middle of space all of a sudden, but I knew this place. And I saw what I knew to be, it was like a spinning sun is what it looked like. And in this spinning sun that went clockwise, there were trillions upon trillions of spheres in it. And each sphere was a soul. And I was one of them. And thoughts, ideas, goals, missions, things that needed to get done would go through this love soup of light that I knew had a name. It was called the Source. And I hear people, psychics say, Source told me. I don't know what Source is. I know the Source. I know that is very distinctive. But so thoughts, ideas, and everything would go clockwise through this light, and every soul would contribute to the thought, and then would go to the center of it and become one. And a thought came by of something that needed to be done here. And I remember casually, Greg, saying, I guess that's something I could do. And it was like everybody took a step back and said, oh, she said she'd do it. I'm like, hold on, what's going on here? And before I knew it, I was being pulled out of this love soup and hurling through space. It was ice cold. And I remember saying, I take it back. I don't want to go. It was so painful. And I went to go get, quote, trained in different places. And one of them is a place that I'm familiar with. I couldn't believe it. It's just so wild. And now again, I'm standing in the middle of my living room in mid-walk, froze with my arms and legs going. And all of a sudden, boom, I'm back to myself. And I go, oh, how could I forget? How could I forget? How could I forget? And my friend is staring at me. She goes, forget what? To use the restroom? You didn't go. And I'm like, how could I forget who I am and what I'm doing here? And I'm like, I'm a student. I didn't come here to become a therapist. I went to grab my phone to drop out of college and all this stuff. It was pouring rain. I went to go outside and start a group. So I had to inform people, and I got sick as a dog. I mean, it was just, this mission thing was so ingrained in me, and it was ridiculous for me to think of how could I have forgotten this, but I was allowed to get it back. And ever since that moment, I've been so driven, because I know when I'm done, I get to go back home, but as well as how important this is. And what this is talking about this conversation here, warning people that there is something threatening our very souls, that is looking at us like something to be preyed upon, that there is such a thing as God. There is another power out there that can oppose this darkness. But here we don't even regard that we have a soul. And so having had the experience of getting exposed to this being through my college roommate, and then getting my memories all back, it just all came full circle. And I've never stopped. It is 99.9% of my day is, what more can I do today? And I knew I didn't come here to settle down, get married, have kids. I knew this life wasn't my own. I knew what I came here to do, and I've known ever since. And it was very difficult to have that memory. And like a near-death experiencer who's like, you miss home. And I've missed home ever since.
It's like a sleeper agent almost.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And I have the receipts now too to show this, which is part of my next book that I'm going to be putting out soon. But that's a whole other show. There's so much to say, and there's so much to do yet. And every book I get done, I think, I must be close to finishing this whole thing, and then something else comes up. So it's I can't stress how important it is for people to figure out what side of the fence they sit on when it comes to this battle between literally the ancient thought of good versus evil. It sounds ridiculous, but it's real.
I was just going to ask that. Is it as simple as good versus evil?
It really is. Yeah. And having no doubts in yourself and who you are and where your faith lies. The being that I had contact with, that came through my friend, it blew my mind that he said to me, "Why did you stop praying? God is real. That is who we answer to. Jesus is who he says he was." And I'm like, what's an alien being talking about Jesus to me? I'd stepped away from that, Yeah. And I had to come back full circle because I got schooled about it by this being that I didn't think of it until a few years ago. He looked like a small cherub angel, like a small child. Though he had large eyes, you could tell he wasn't human, but he was the size of a toddler. So,
well, and it's that. I mean, this is a whole other conversation about the likeness between what we look at as religious people, artifacts, everything else, versus alien technology or aliens that by angels. Many believe angels to be aliens, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's a whole other thing, and it also is kind of like the layers of existence on this planet, the layers of activity on this planet, some of which that many of us have no idea that's even happening.
Oh man, and it's wild to me because our governments know. I have been interrogated over the things that I know. If I'm so wrong, why bother me? Why come my way? And in the UFO congressional hearings, what are they saying? Interdimensional beings.
Yep.
And they talk about shadow people, Hat Man. When you hear them say tricksters, they're talking about that. And all of these people are seeking religious guidance because when they dabble in with some of these beings, they're very negative and they get attacked by Hat Man and shadow beings. It's they're calling out for craft to come and land, and they're getting these things attacking them. I mean, skinwalkers ain't got nothing on this because these things could go through walls, and it doesn't matter where you move; they'll follow you. So it's a matter of really putting your ethereal foot down and figuring out where you stand.
So we have just under 5 minutes left. What is it that people should be doing in this situation?
People need to realize that, look, you're going to be flawed no matter what when it comes to your faith. God knows that. But even in the Bible, it says if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, which is tiny, if you can have that solid little bit of faith, you will be okay. And you throw that in the face of these negative things when they come your way, because we can't take them on ourselves. And I had so many people that write me and say, "Hey, I don't get into that religious thing, but I just saw the devil." I'm like, that's a religious term. How did your soul recognize that as the devil? So that should tell you a whole lot right there. So I created 2 books. I'm a cartoonist too. The Other F Word means for faith. So the otherfword.com. I did like Diary of a Wimpy Kid type like books for people to figure their faith out and keep it simple. And to be, painfully honest about it. But, I want people, if they have issues, if they have questions, feel free to write me through HeidiHollis.com or shadowfolks.com, or follow me at Heidi Hollis on any of the social media. Just put a 1 in front of my name and send me a message.
Absolutely. And you bring it up yourself earlier when you had your situation that you had somebody step in and help you. I mean, that the faith had someone had your back, basically, and that's kind of the to me kind of the point of what we're talking about here. You have that faith. You don't fight it yourself. If you have that faith, you have someone who has your back.
God, Jesus, the positive symbol behind that. And, it's also important if these negative things are coming your way, they come at you like a thief in the night when you're asleep and your guard is down, and then they paralyze you and say, I got you now. It goes to show you they don't have that much power. But so you've got to bless your space, yourself, and where you sleep, and bless your home. And I do it with my necklace, my cross necklace, and bless every corner. I have it on my website under the help tab, exactly how to do it. And I've did a second book on the Hat Man on how to do that. So you protect yourself wherever you go, because these things will follow you at work, in the car, so you have to just, put that protective wall up.
And because it's unusual, I can imagine a lot of people succumb to it because because it's unusual, they almost look at it like it's more powerful. Yeah. And that's not the case at all.
It isn't. They're powerful. I mean, don't tempt these things. Don't try to run. Don't try to swing at them. Yeah. I have a podcast with Coast to Coast AM called Dark Becomes Light. Yeah. If you go to coasttocoastam.com, you go there and listen to it for free. And I talk about a lot of scenarios in regards to dealing with these things. And I'm a news correspondent for Coast to Coast, where I talk about the demonic battle, because there's so much that we can do. Have no doubts, have faith, and hold strong and lean on each other. These things try to isolate us for a reason, because we're weaker when we're isolated, but they try to make you feel like you're crazy. They make you feel sick, start arguments out of nowhere. There's a riot getting started in crowds from these things. It's a war, and people are battling them in the middle of the nights for their lives, for their very souls. And we're not connecting to understand this fully among each other. But I'll tell you, to my last breath, I'm going to be talking about this to make sure people don't anticipate the end times. We'll lose too many people. Help your brother, your sister get things right in their lives.
And we have about a minute and a half left, but I want to just kind of say, you would say with what we're kind of talking about here, if you're running into these situations, don't be quiet about it. Because I think isn't that part of it, that it's too weird to talk about, and that just kind of isolates you more from everybody, right?
Having a sense of humor. These negative things really hate that, but also be yourself when you're talking about these things, because if you go off on it and people think, oh, you lost it, just be yourself, the person that you could confide in. It's sad that people have to write me from the opposite side of the planet instead of talking to their spouse or family. So it's just, we got to create some comfort around this conversation, because it's at the level I was told it would get at before a next ball would drop. And I'm telling you, it's a doozy. So people got to figure this out now.
You absolutely they do. And I just have a quick question before we kind of wrap up here. Your college friend, are you still in touch with her?
No, she walked away from it because she wanted to have her career. She's got something good going on, and she didn't want to have that kind of stigma with her. So unfortunately,
which is exactly what we just were talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want to. You don't want to keep that quiet.
Yeah.
But society frowns upon it if you talk about it. And that's the thing about this show, Coast to Coast. These are safe places. This is where we can talk about this, and no one's judged, and hopefully we can help each other as well.
Absolutely. We got to do better, people. We really do. So I'm doing my best. Join me. The secret war is on. And, I think that there is hope for us. Otherwise, these beings who claim to work for God, positive alien beings who claim to work for God, are here in that regard. But don't pray to them. Pray to God.
Right. Well, and so we're going to continue this conversation at some point, folks. We're certainly not done here. Go to HeidiHollis.com. Heidi's books are available on Amazon. Heidi, thank you so very much. What an incredible conversation.
Thank you, Greg. This is a blast. I look forward to the next time.
Absolutely. Tomorrow we'll be back with Chris Fleming. Everyone, have a fantastic evening.